Hi everyone, Salesforce integration training day 10. So today agenda is we'll quickly go through the previous session. We'll talk about the XML file and we'll talk about the HTTP hypertext transfer protocol, and then we'll talk about the remote site settings, and then we'll talk about the use cases and the Salesforce. Now, what we have done with the understanding the JSON, XML, HTTP. Now, Salesforce, we are going to start the actual integration of the Salesforce, and then we will talk about the SOAP, and then we'll have a trial head. Now, last session, we have discussed about the HTTP, like we have discussed in detail about the HTTP, right? So HTTP is nothing but hypertext protocol, transfer protocol. It is a stateless. HTTP is stateless. The reason for the stateless protocol is the server and client are aware each other only during whenever the request goes from the client, or whenever the server is sending the request, during the request goes to the other system, then only they will remember the whatever the requested came. So afterwards, both of them will forget about each other. So due to this nature, we call the protocol as a HTTP stateless, which we have seen in the last session. And also we have seen HTTP is a media independent. That means any type of data can be sent by HTTP as long as both the client and server knows each other how to handle that type of a data. And we have also seen this diagram in the last class. So here user is requesting some data to the server, and server is going to retrieve the data and then modify whatever needs to be done. It will do all the logic execution. Then fourth step is server returns a response to the message. Then finally it will display the whatever the output is there. By modifying this output, we will display that output into the HTTP. So this is overall in the HTTP. So hypertext transfer protocol is divided in, it has three classes. One is a HTTP class, second one is a HTTP request class, HTTP response class. HTTP response class. Now here HTTP class is, it uses the HTTP class to initiate the HTTP request and response. Whereas the request is, we use the HTTP request class to programmatically create the HTTP request. That means in order to get the data or posting the information, or put means either create or update the data into the either Salesforce or different system, or else delete. If you want to perform any of these operations, we use the HTTP request. And once the response is received, so whenever we receive the response, using this, what we will do is, we will handle the response written by the HTTP class. So in detail of HTTP request and response, these three we have seen in detail in the last class. Now, whenever we are implementing a HTTP, whenever we are implementing a hypertext transfer protocol in Salesforce, we have to create a record in the remote site settings. Now, what is this remote site settings here? Remote site setting is basically we have for example, we have I'm calling the third party system. I'm calling the third party system. Now here I have some third party system. I don't know this third party system. Could be any third party system. Could be any third party system. Now we are requesting, like for example, I'm requesting the data from the Salesforce. So from the Salesforce, we are sending a request to the third party system. When we are sending a request to the third party system, and third party system will respond to the whatever based on the request, it will respond to the Salesforce. Now, if third party system either it has to listen or send information First of all, that third party information we have to somewhere specify in the Salesforce, saying that this is one of the third party system. We need to, in Salesforce, somewhere we have to specify that this is the third party system. This is third party system. Now our somewhere in our logic, we are going to call that third party system. We are going to call that third party system. So we need to specify this information in the Salesforce. We need to specify this information in the Salesforce. Now, how can I specify this data URL into the Salesforce? By using the remote site settings. By using the remote site settings. Now, remote site settings are basically in Salesforce. If you are talking from Salesforce, if you are talking to third-party system, or from the third party, we are receiving the response to the Salesforce. Whenever in the Salesforce, whenever we are implementing any integration, we need to register that third-party system by using the remote site settings. So Salesforce allows the access to the external website resource from the Salesforce application. Now, whenever you register here, what will happen? Now, Salesforce will know that, okay, it allows the access to the external website resource from the Salesforce application, whoever is calling in the organization, like I'm implementing the Apex. Now, whenever I'm implementing the Apex, while executing the Apex, first it will check, is this third-party URL is registered in the remote site settings or not. If it is registered, that means it is allowed to access the external third-party system. Allow the access to external third-party system. So Salesforce is going to allow the access to external web service resource from the Salesforce application to organization. Now, you can access any external web service website through the Visualforce or a Apex callout or a via XML HTTP request calls, right? We will see the Apex callout. So from Visualforce page also we can call the third-party system. Now directly, how can I call the Visualforce page? From the Visualforce page, you have to call the Apex. From the Apex, you will be calling that. Now, apart from that, we have a callout. In the Apex, we have a callout. Using the callout also, we can call the external website, or else using the XML HTTP request calls. So these are the ways we can call it. Mostly in the real time, either we will go for a Apex class or a batch class or a trigger or a Visualforce. These are the one maximum we will go for it. Now, why do I need to register in the remote site settings? Why do I need to register the third-party URL in the remote site settings? It is to avoid accessing any kind of a virus or a malicious website from the Salesforce.com. Now, any issues or anything virus or any other details, right? Because as soon as I registered in the remote site setting, first, as soon as I create a record in the remote site setting, Salesforce is going to cross-verify all the information from the backend. There is a logic that gets executed to avoid the accessing any malicious websites or any different website which is not supported. Everything it is going to cross-verify that, right? So once it is cross-verified, Salesforce stores the information whether this third party is having the proper details or not. Now, otherwise, we can say that it is in the real time, we say that to whitelist the URL. Mostly in the real time, we say that whitelist the URL. So whatever the URL is there, that URL we need to whitelist that. Now the website. So first need to register with the remote site settings. Whenever we are implementing the integration with the HTTP or any Apex callout, anything we are implementing within the Salesforce, it has the first step is the URL has to be registered in the remote site settings. Once the site is registered, then it can be used in the salesforce.com for implementing the Apex or calling any other logic through the Apex. You can use that. Right, and before any Apex call out, can call an external site. So the site must be registered in the remote site setting pages. Now we will see one example, how can we register. Now in order to go to the remote site settings, we have a navigation steps. Steps are like you need to go to the setup and search for a remote site. Search for a remote site and then click on the remote site settings, click on the new remote. Now it will redirect you to the new page where you need to enter the remote site name and the URL. Which are the third party URL is there, that URL you have to mention there. Now let me go to the Salesforce, click on a setup. Now from the setup, click on here, remote site settings, security related. Inside the security, we have a remote site settings. Now, in the remote site, it says that below is the list of the web address that your organization can invoke from the salesforce.com. Right? So in order to invoke the other website from the salesforce.com, what we can do is we can create it. Now, if you click on the new one, new remote site, then what will happen? It will ask you the remote site name and URL. Now the next one is a disable protocol security in case if you want to disable any protocol. Like if this checkbox is checked, then it will allow the, if there is some HTTP or some security, in case if you wanted to have disable those kind of a security, then you can enable this. Usually we do not use this in the real time. Right, only information that mandatory information is site name and the URL. Now let's see one of the use case. Now the use case is implement an interface to get the response based on the IP address. Based on the IP address. Now if I go to the option called as a login history. The option called as login history. In this login history, there are multiple members are logged in, right? So there are multiple members are logged in here. Now we have a source IP. Source IP. So this is a different IP and this is the another IP. Right? Similarly, we have a different IP is there. Now I wanted to know that who is this person is logging in. Who is this person is logging in from the different places, the people are logging in here. From the different places, they are logging in. Now we wanted to know who is the person that logged in. Right? So in that case, what we can do is we can implement an interface just using the HTTP. I'm not implementing the truly interface. Here, this use case is, today we are discussing about the HTTP request, HTTP response. How to use a HTTP request, HTTP response. Now the last class which we have seen is, last class we have seen the JSON class, JSON generator, right? Then we have seen the XML, how to build the XML. Now today we are going to see how to create a HTTP. We have seen the JSON and XML. Now today our focus is just using the HTTP. How can we do that? And in order to get these details, we have to go to the IP address. There is a one third-party system which is called as a utrace. There is a third-party system which is called as a utrace. If I go to this utrace, now this is the open source, it's available. Now in this utrace, if you pass the IP address, then it is going to give you the some XML result. It is going to, the output is in the format of XML. The output is in the form of XML. Now whatever the IP address is provided, here the IP address is provided like 88.198.156.18. So this is the IP address which is provided, and this is the IP address which is provided, and the result is in the form of XML. The result is in the form of XML. Now, whatever I receive this form of XML, so I need to call this IP address. That means I need to request, I need to send a request here by passing the IP address. I need to send a request by passing the IP address, right? And then I'll get a response. Response will be in the form of XML. Whatever the response I'm receiving it, I need to deserialize this result and display the information in Salesforce. Now that is what I'm going to implement it. Now let's go to the developer console. Now let's implement here file new Apex class. Let's say that this is a HTTP underscore utrace. Utrace is the third party, from that where we can find the IP address. Now here I need to implement a method. Now today this example is where we are going to use the HTTP. Now let's say that public void. Let's say method name is utrace. Let's say IP address calculation, get the IP address details, get IP address details. Now, whatever I'm going to do it here, I'll be displaying the information from the Visualforce page. I'll be displaying the output in the Visualforce page. So this class is going to call from Visualforce page. Now this will going to take the input, whatever the response is there, the response is taken by the your method, and it will deserialize it, and whatever I'm deserializing it, I'll be displaying that output in the Visualforce. And let's say here I have an endpoint. So endpoint is string endpoint equal to, the endpoint is, this is my endpoint, HTTP. This is the endpoint. Till the equal to. This is the endpoint. Now, plus I need to pass the IP address here. I need to pass the IP address. That's what I have done here. I have created the endpoint. Step 1. Created the endpoint. Created the endpoint. Now, right? So let's see here. Now, this is the endpoint. Now, after that, we have an option. After that, what we need to do, we need to initialize the HTTP protocol. Step 2 is, I need to initialize HTTP protocol. I need to initialize the HTTP protocol. In order to initialize the HTTP protocol, how we can initialize it? Now, last class we have discussed HTTP. Now I can give some name here, HP equal to new HTTP. This is the initialization of the HTTP. This is the initialization of the HTTP. Now, once I have initialized it, there are in the HTTP, there are 3 classes are there. First class is HTTP, second class is HTTP request, and the third one is HTTP response. Now this is the we have initialized the HTTP protocol. Now the third step is step 3. I need to create a request. I need to create a request structure. I need to create a request structure. Now, in order to create a request structure, now I need to use the another class which is called as a HTTP request. HTTP request equal to new HTTP request. New HTTP request. Right? So this is the initialization of the HTTP request. Now, when a request is nothing but I'm sending a request to the another system. Now, who is the person, who is the third party system which I'm sending a request? In order to let the HTTP request to know that, what I'm doing is request dot set endpoint. Set endpoint. Now, what are the endpoint is there? This endpoint I'm declaring it here. What are the endpoint is there? I'm declaring the endpoint. Right? So here it will know that a request, whenever I'm sending a request, whom I'm sending a request, this endpoint I'm sending a request. This endpoint I'm sending a request. This endpoint I'm sending a request. Also, what is the method that I'm going to perform whenever I send a request? Am I getting the information? There are 4 types of methods are there. Last class we have discussed methods are get method, post method, put method, or delete method. Get means I am getting the information from the third party system. Post means it is similar like posting the information in the website, posting the details into the Salesforce, which is a creating or updating it. Put is nothing but either you are creating it or you are updating the information. So delete where you are deleting the data. Now here, what is the method that I'm going to perform? I'm just getting the information. I'm not posting anything. Whatever the data, that IP address, what is the IP address I'm passing it, right? This request, I'm passing the request. And what are the response I'm getting it? This response, I'm going to display in the Visual Force. Whatever the response is there, this response I'm going to display in the Visual Force. So I'm not going to update any record in the Salesforce. I'm just going to display the information in the Visual Force. In that case, what we can do, request dot set method, request dot set method, and the method name is get. We just need a get method here. We just need a get method. We just need get method. Right? So this is now here IP address variable is not declared. Now let me declare the variable on top, public string IP address. As this is going to call from the Visual Force, I'm going to use the set method and get, set and get. Right, till this point, is it clear? Forget about the Visual Force and everything. Till this point, what are the steps I have written? So this is the step 1 is where I'm initializing the endpoint. Step 2 is I'm initializing the HTTP protocol. Then I need to create a request structure. Now, when I create a request structure, I need to set the endpoint to the request. Here, this is a step 4. Step 4 is whenever we are doing the on request structure, we need to set the endpoint. Whatever the address is there, endpoint address. That endpoint address, I need to set it. Now the next one is step 5 here. Step 5 is set the method. What is the method on the request? On request, set the method. Set method. On request, set the method. Now till this part is it clear? Now, whatever we are sending a request, now the finally we receive the output or a response, we are going to receive the response. Now HTTP response, this is another class. Now let's initialize this response equal to. Now from where will I get this response? Response is received from the, based on this request, we will receive the response, which is the initial class, whatever this initial class is there. Now we are going to send whatever this request is there, that request we need to send it. Using this protocol, we need to send the request here. Whatever the response I am receiving it, the response will be stored into the HTTP response. Whatever the response we are going to receive it, that we will be storing into the HTTP response. Now, whatever the response is received, let's get in the response. We have so much of data will be there, but I'm only interested on getting the response dot. There is a different options we have. Only header if you want to get, or a status if you want to get, or a block which is a document related, or a document file attachment, anything if you wanted to get it, you can get it. So right now I'm just going to use a get me the body, the structure of whatever the actual response is there, get me that information. Now once I get that information, I'm going to store that into the, let's say, I'll declare the variable called body here, public string, let's say body, and it is set and get. I'm going to get the response and storing the response into this. Now, whatever the response we are receiving, which format we are receiving the response? In the XML format. In the XML format, we are receiving the response. Now, whatever the response I receive in the XML format, I need to deserialize it. I need to deserialize the XML. So in order to deserialize the XML, now which we have already seen how to do the deserialization in the XML part of it, right? So in order to deserialize it in the XML, we have to use the document, document. Okay, here it's not there. So which we have seen already. So we have a class called dom.document equal to, let's declare one variable here. Let's say new dom.document. I'm initializing the document here, and then toc dot. Am I creating the XML? I'm not creating the XML. Document, no. Get root element, no. We are just, whatever the output I am getting it, I need to load it into the this. I need to load into the this information. Now let's say here I'll give the, instead of body, I'll say XML here. Now that XML, I'll give the input here. Now once we load the information, now the next thing is that I need to do the root element. I need to do the root element. In order to do that, dom.xml node, whatever the root equal to the main document dot get root element. Get root element. Now this is, it will display in the XML format. I'm not completely deserializing it here. I'm not completely deserializing it. Let's save this. Now let me show you how the output looks like in the Visualforce. Let's click on new Visualforce page. Now let's say this is vf_. uterus, VF underscore uterus. Click on this. Now we need to call the controller. Controller equal to. This is the controller name. Now let me pass this. Now, what are the data we are getting it? The data I'm going to display in the input text. Apex colon input text. Input text value. Now, what is the value that I'm going to display here? Now, first I need to pass the IP address. First I need to pass the IP address. So let me take this IP address. Now let the user enter the IP address here. Let the user enter the IP address. Now, once the user enter the IP address, now what I'm going to build right now? Here user will be entering the IP address something 10.233.6.67. Now once user click on this address, once user enter this address button, then we have a button here, which is a, let's say that this button name is get the IP details. Get IP details. Get the IP details. As soon as the IP details are clicked on this, then I can see the XML format here. I can see the XML. Whatever the XML is there for this based on IP, I'm going to get the response in the XML format. So here apex colon command button. Now button name is value equal to get IP details. And action, I need to perform an action here. In order to perform the action, whatever the method name is there. So that method name, which is a get IP address details. Get IP address details. Now, let's say here, then I wanted to display the output in the apex colon input text area value equal to whatever the value is there. Actual value, the XML format is stored into the XML here. Now I'll give the output of that. Now ID equal to, let's say this is, so let's specify this OP and the column attribute must be address. What is the error it is saying here? Attribute value. That's fine. Okay, column calls equal to 30. And then rows equal to, let's say 30. Perfect, let's save this. What is the error it is getting? Unsupported attribute IP. Okay, this has to be within the apex form because we are using the input. Now let's save this. Now let's click on a preview. Now here, let's say that I'm entering the IP address. Let me take it from the here. I'll enter the IP address, get the IP details. It says that unauthorized, line number 15. Get IP address details. What is the error we are getting it? Unauthorized endpoint. Okay. Unauthorized endpoint. The reason we are getting this error is because we have not entered this URL in the remote site settings. We have not created the remote site settings for this. Duplicate. Now let's create a remote site setting. So if you do not create a remote site settings, what is the error you are going to get? Unauthorized endpoint. So please check the remote site settings. Please check the remote site settings. Now it is asking us to enter those URL into the remote site setting. So go to the remote site setting. Let's create a new remote site. Now this is a address. Now click on save. I have created and activated it. Now let me refresh this. Okay, so this is the output we are getting. This is the output we are getting. XML, this is the IP address, right? So SCAD net market, this is the one. Dubai, region is Dubai, country code is AE, and the latitude, longitude, it is given. Latitude, longitude, it is given. Right, this is the XML. Whatever the XML I'm getting it, simply I'm printing the result here. Simply I'm printing the result. Now, if you see this XML format is right. So XML format is now this is it says that starting line is as usual common. Then it is starting with the results, ending with the result. And similarly, we have a inside the results, one more result is there. Inside the result, one more result is there. Let me copy this. Now this is the results. Within this, we have a result. And within this, we have a IP address, host, ISP, org, region, country code, latitude, longitude, and queries. This is actually the response how I'm receiving it from the uTrace. From the uTrace, I'm getting the response. For example, if you want to divide this, and display in the format of, like for example, whatever the country code is there. Now you wanted to display the country code here. Just you wanted to display the country code, and then whatever the data is there. Now that means here your key is a country code and the data is for the country code. What is the data here? A. Now, for example, in this table format, you wanted to display whatever the response you are getting it, you wanted to divide that only country code, entire information I do not need. Entire information I do not need it. Specifically, so this is not understandable format. Let's assume that this is not an understandable format. Now, whatever the each key is there, display the key here, IP, and then display the address here. It is easy for me to read the data. It is easy for me to read the data. So whatever this XML format is there, each one take it as a key and display me the data here. Now this format I can understand, this format I cannot understand. If client says that display like this, key and data. Now what you have to do, whatever the response you are getting it from the uTrace, what you need to do, you need to basically deserialize it completely. Now, in order to deserialize it, for example, it says here key and data. Now it is similar to the key and value. So what you can do here, let's say here you can do public. I'm going to declare one variable here, which is called as a map of string, comma string. Let's say string, comma string. Now this is the result. Let's say this is set and get. Set and get. Now I have declared the one variable which is the map. One variable which is the map. Now whatever this variable is there, now I'll take this variable. Now let's initialize it within the method. Is equal to new map of string, comma string. I have initialized within this. Now the next step is I need to, whenever I'm doing the deserialization, I need to get the information and store the key and value here. I need to store the key and value. Now in this root, I have a whatever the results are there. Basically in the root, what is the root here? Root is results. This is the root. Right, within that I have a child element. Within that I have a child element. This is the child element. Right, and within this I have one more child element, which is a grandchild. Within this I have a one more child element, which is a grandchild. This is also child element. Now root is this, and within that I have a child. Within this I have a child element. So basically within this child element, whatever the data is there, I need to get this child element. For that I need to get the key and for value. Now here the root, I'm getting the root element here, which is called as a results. This I'm getting it here, results, the root element. Now from the root element, I wanted to get the child element. I wanted to get the child element. This is the child element. Now sometimes it is possible that I might get a multiple result. I might get multiple result. Right now only one result is there, but in future I might get a multiple results also. It is possible that multiple results also I can get it. So what I'll do is, whatever the child information is there, I'll store it into the list. I'll store it into the list. DOM.xml node. Now, whatever the child details are there, this is basically each result, right? So let's say this is the result list. Result list. Now, this result list, I need to get it from the root dot get child element. Get child elements. Now here I'll get the result list. Result list. Now, whatever this result list is there, from that I'm going to capture the only first one. Only first I'm going to capture it. For this, I'm going to capture only the first child record. Only the first child record. This I'll store it into the DOM.xml node. And let's say here, this is the parent. From this parent, now I got the result list, right? I got the result list from this result, right? So within this, I have a one more child, right? So this child data as well as the text, I need to get it. Whatever the name of the child, this element name and the text. So basically what I need, finally, I need the information of get the name, whatever the name of the tag is there, that name of the tag, and get the text. These two information stored. So get name is, it will be stored in the key, and get whatever the text is there for that name. So that will be stored in the value. That will be stored in the value. So this is the output which I needed. Now, in order to get that output from the parent, now whatever here I have a parent, from this parent, I need to get the child element. Whatever the child element is there, the child elements, I need to get it. Not the single one, multiple. We have a multiple child elements within that.
Ma'am, excuse me, ma'am. Hello.
Yes, yes.
Ma'am, your voice is not clear. There is some echo in the audio. I think you are on loudspeaker, I think.
Is everybody having that issue? How about others? Are you guys able to listen?
No, ma'am, clearly voice audible.
Okay. So probably Tejo Kumar check from your side. So parent dot get child elements. Basically what I'm looking here, these elements, whatever the child elements are there, these child elements, we are going to get the details. Now for these child elements, I'm going to store into the list of dom.xml. This is the actual data where I need it. Now this is the important one because this is going to store entire data of all this IP address, host, ISP, or region, country code, latitude, longitude, queries. These all data will be stored in this parent.get child elements. Now I need to loop through that particular one. I need to loop through that particular one. dom.xml node, let's say ed : data. So whatever this data I'm getting it, that data I'm going to loop through it. I'm going to loop through it. Now within the loop, what I need the information? I need the information of getting the key and a value. Getting the key and value. Now output needs to be stored here. res. res dot put the key is ed dot get name. ed dot get name. Value is ed dot get text. Value is ed dot get text. Right? Now this is the final output. This is the final output where it is storing the information. Now how many lines which we have written? Hardly we have written the 6 lines. Now this is the parent node. This is the parent node. Right? So results is the at the top level. Whatever this results, the root element is there. The root element is here. Within that, we have a child which is called as a result. Which is called as a result. I'm getting the list of result here. List of the result from here. Now for now, I'm going to get only the first one, and that first one is I'm storing it here. From this parent, get every child elements. Get all the child elements from this. That means get me all of this. Now then loop through the each one of them and get me the name and get me the text. Get me the name and text. Now this is all about the Apex. Now let's go back to the uTrace. Now uTrace has to be modified. This is the input. This is properly fine. Command button. This is perfectly fine. Let's keep the input text area also fine. Now, what are the output I'm getting it? The output I'm getting in the form of map, right? So map collection which has a key and value. Now that map data I wanted to display in the Visual Force. Now in order to display the map data, basically key and value I need to display it. So for that, what I'll use is I'll use the data table. I'll use the data table. In this data table, let's pass the value equal to, what is the value that I have? Value is storing into the RES. Value is storing into the RES. Now the next one is, I'll give a name to it, which is says A. Right now, let's move on inside. Now here, what are the data that I need to display? I need to display the data in the form of, this is the key and this is the value. 2 columns I need it. I need 2 columns. Within this, I needed 2 columns, apex column, value equal to whatever the RES, right? Variable name is for this is A. So simply I'll print the A here. Simply I'll print the A. And let's say header name or header value equal to, let's say key. Another column is, I need another column to display the data. Column. Now for this header, whatever the header is there, header value equal to data. Header value equal to data. Now for this value, I need to display it. Value equal to, value we have to display result of A. Result of A. Now let me go ahead and see the output. It is displaying the key and the data both together, it is displaying it. Now let me add some space. Let's add here width equal to, let's say 700, and also let's add the border frame. Frame is border, and let's add some space to this. Cell padding equal to 10. Let's click on save. Now let's go ahead and see how it is displaying the key data. Now it is displaying the key data in this format. This is perfectly fine. Now what I'll do is, I'll go ahead and give the IP address. Click on get result. It is getting me the country AE host. There is nothing is there for the host. So that's the reason it is blank. IP, it is giving me the IP address. ISP, it is giving the ISP. Latitude, longitude, or queries and region. Right? So this is the output. Whatever we are getting in the XML, I have divided and stored into the map collection. I have stored into the map collection. Is this clear? Any questions on this? Whatever the logic that we have written here, Apex class.
My side is Swapna.
Okay, so Visual Visual Studio is a different. Visual Studio we have already covered in our previous one. Writing the code in the Visual Studio is, it's a normal way how you are going to write the details. No, I think you are first time attending my class. Farhad, you are attending for the first time, right? So we have already covered how to write a classes in the Visual Studio. How to write a classes in the Visual Studio, which we have already covered. Now it's a simple how you are writing in the developer console. Same thing you have to do it in the Visual Studio also. So which I have already covered in development classes. Okay, so this is the one of the use case. Similarly, another use case is, now for example, there is a postal code open IP address is there. Now if you go to the API for Indian postal code, API for Indian postal code, postal pin code / API details, postal pin code dot API details. Now here, if you go here, all the cities, whatever the cities we have it, and state, what are the states we have? Telangana, right? In the Telangana, there are so many IP addresses are there. So everything we will get it. You select here the district, like if you select the Hyderabad district, and these are the pin codes that are available in the Hyderabad. Right? If you also pass the pin code, for example, if you pass this pin code as a 50061. So these are the information, right? It is displaying this information. But same thing I want in the API. I want in the API. So let's go here, API doc. Right, if you go to the API doc, in the real time, whenever you get a requirement, they will provide you this URL. Client itself is going to provide you the URL. But only the thing developer, what he has to do is he need to read this document properly. Document has to be, we have to read step by step what is happening each one of them. Now we have to do a complete analysis of the document, then only we can implement the integration. Otherwise, we cannot implement the integration. So usually, now I have worked on one of my integration part in my real time. Now they have given us some different third-party system which I have not heard any time. And nobody is there for the help. So what we have to do? We have to go through this document completely. What is written in each one of them, we need to see that, and step by step we need to understand how it is working, this URL, everything we need to see. Now here they have given the steps that we need to follow. Step 1 is get post office details, search by the post pin code. That means this is the get method. For this get method, he has mentioned here a get. Right, get method api.postalpincode.in pin code, then you need to pass the pin code here. In case if you want a post office branch, you have to pass the post office branch. Example they have given here, http:/api.postalpincode.in pin code. If you say 110011. Now if I click on this, now let me copy this. Okay, so if you give this, what it is going to give me, the response will be in the JSON format. Response will be in the JSON format. So this is the API address. So I'm passing here 110001. So this is basically Delhi pin code. It is Delhi pin code. If I pass some Hyderabad 50081. 50081. So this is a Telangana state. This is Telangana state and district is a Hyderabad. District is Hyderabad. Now they are going to specify here name is Cyberabad, and also we have a different name, Madhapur. Right, so for Madhapur it is a 50081. If I pass a pin code, they are going to give me the details of this. What is the name of the area? What is the name of the area, or what is the name of that particular place? So they are going to give us the complete information. This is the Indian postal code. If you want to implement the integration with the Indian postal code, so you need to use the URL code. This is the URL. And you have to pass the IP address. If you pass the IP address, response will be in the JSON format. Response will be in the JSON format. In case the IP address is wrong. In case IP address is wrong. Now instead of 50001, we'll say 5001. 5001. So no record found. Status is error. So it will give you the no record found, status is error, post office is null. This is the way how you can search the pin code. If you want to pass it just a branch office, or if you want to pass the name of that place, and based on that, if you want to get the details, you can get the details. For example, right now I'm going to implement one integration. I'll implement the integration to get the place names based on the IP address. Now I need to pass the IP address. Now whenever I pass the IP address, I wanted to get the details of the names. What are the names that are available with that IP address? Now that's how I'm going to implement right now. So whatever this 00081 is having, like for example, if I pass the pin code 50081. 50081. Now, whatever the names are there, those names I wanted to get the names of it. I wanted to get the names of it. Now, these names I'll display in the visual force and display in the visual force. Now, let's go ahead and implement another Apex class. This is for the Indian Postal Code. File, new, Apex class. This is a HTTP underscore postal code. Now, this is the class name, and I'll be calling this class from the visual force. That means in order to display the data. Now, let's say here, I'll be having a method public void get postal details. Now, whatever these postal details are there, I need to get the details. Now, first thing, my endpoint. What is my endpoint? Endpoint says that this is the endpoint. Tell the pin code is my endpoint, and the pin code I need to pass it dynamically. Pin code I need to pass it dynamically. So let me copy the endpoint here. String endpoint equal to. Now this is the endpoint. Then I need to pass the dynamically the pin code. Whatever the pin code is there, I need to pass it. Now let me declare that pin code public. Let's say string pin code. And this I'll call it from the visual force set get. Now, once I have done passing the details, now the next step is the HTTP. I need to declare the HTTP protocol. So HTTP.
Swapna, before that, we have to add in remote settings, right? URL.
Yes, we need to add it. Let's go ahead and add it. Let's copy this. Remote site settings. Let's go to the remote site settings. Click on a new remote site settings. Now this is the postal pin code. Postal pin code. Now this is the URL. Click on a save. Perfect. We have added. Then we have declared the initialize the HTTP protocol. The next class is HTTP request. HTTP request equal to new HTTP request. New HTTP request. Then after that, we need to pass the. After that, we need to pass the endpoint to the request. So request dot set endpoint. Now endpoint, this is the endpoint. Now what is the method that we need to perform it? We need to perform the method called get. Request dot set method, and the method name is get. Method name is get. Now after that, Once we are done with this, I need to get the response. In order to get the response, I need to use the whatever the protocol name is there, the protocol, and send whatever the request is there, I need to send. And what are the output I'm getting it? I'll be storing into the HTTP response. HTTP response. HTTP response. Now, what are the responses there? Now, this response, from this response, we are going to get the body response dot get body, and the information I'll be stored into the. Let's say that we are receiving the response in the JSON format. String JSON string. Then say JSON string equal to response dot get body. Now, what are the JSON string which we are receiving it? What are the JSON string? Now, this is the JSON string which I am receiving it. Assume that like this I am receiving the data. From this, I just need the information which I need to display the name of the place. Name of the place I need to display it. So that means based on the here responses in the form of JSON. Now I'll be using the JSON parser. I'll be using the JSON parser because we are receiving the response in the form of JSON parser. So system dot, we have a JSON parser within the class called system namespace class. System dot JSON parser. JSON parser equal to JP. Now I need to create a JSON structure here, JSON dot. We need to create a parser. And this is a JSON string. This is the JSON string. Now, whatever I'm getting the details in the parser, we have a token called next token or a get text, right? So which we have already seen that. So I need to look through the each one of them. While jp dot whatever the next token is there, I need to get the next token. If the next token is not equal to null, if the next token is not equal to null, then I need to check what is the name of it, right? So this is the token name. If this token is not equal to null, now I need to check whether the text is equal to name, then I wanted to get this name of it. If this text equal to name, then get me the text of this. So for that, I'll check if jp dot get text equal to name. If it is equal to name, then go to the again next token, jp dot next token, and then get me the details. How can I get it? jp dot get text. Get me the value of that. Now, whatever this value is there, that value I need to store it into the one list because those are the names. Here I am going to get the name of the place names. I am going to get it. This is the place names. So all the place names I'll be storing into the list. So public list of a string places and let's say set and the get. Now in these places, I'll add this. Places dot add. Now add this, whatever the text is there, keep on adding it. Keep on adding the information. That's all. Now I got the list of the details. From the postal code, I got the list of the details. Now I need to display the information in the visual force. Now let me go to the new visual force. This is VF underscore postal codes. Click on OK. Now I'm going to call the controller. controller equal to, now here we have a postal class name, http underscore postal code controller. Now, what I need to display the data. Also, I need to pass the pin code. So that means I need a input text. Input field where the user has to be entering the data. So if I'm using the input, then I need to have an apex form. Now within the apex form, let's say here enter the pin code. Enter the pin code, and the pin code has to be entered in the input text. Input text, and here I'll pass the value equal to whatever the pin code is there that I need to pass it here. Once I pass the details, click on button. Now, in order to add the button, apex colon command button. Inside this value, let's say get the names. This is the button name. Action equal to I need to call the method here. The method name is get postal details. Click on this. Click on this, get postal details. And that's all. And the next one which I need the information is display the details. Whatever the details I have it here in the places, the data has to be displayed. So which I'll be displaying in the, let's say, data list. In the data list, I'll pass the value. Curly braces, exclamation places, and let's give a name to this var equal to, let's say, A. Whatever the data is there, I'm printing the step by step. Click on done. Now let's see how it is displaying the output. Let me add some space here, paragraph. No, okay. So now let's say here I'm entering the 523. Say 50001. We got to get names. What is error? Line number 22. Attempt to dereference null object. Why it is saying attempt to dereference null object? Which line? Line number 22. Get me the text. Right? Yeah. Enter to null object. Now, let me see here. Let me add ID equal to, I'm just adding the refresh. So let's see whether it is working or not. We render. let's say, what is the pin code? 50081. Get postal details line number 2. Your development organization has been notified. What is this null value? Response I'm receiving it. Once I receive the response, status code is 200. That means I'm receiving the information. I'm receiving the information, but there is something wrong. Null pointer exception. D reference null object. Now, in that case, I'll go here and say jp.getText. Not equal to null. Then only add the places dot add. Control S. Now, is there any null here? Name equal to Hyderabad. You don't have any null value. Okay. So 24 line. Places, okay. I need to declare these places here. Places equal to new list of a string. We need to initialize that within the method also. Let me see here. Now it should be working. 50081. Get names. Now Cyberabad, Madhapur. Right? These are the details which I am getting it. Now if I say 523109, get the names. Now these are the names. Now if I give the same pin code here, right? I have a Chavatapalam, and what else I have? Malapuru, some names, Cherupuru. These are the names which we have. Yeah, Cherupuru, these are the names which are displaying it. So I'm getting all the names based on the pin code. Based on the pin code, only the names I'm getting here, only the names. So this pin code is associated with this type of these areas. These areas, this pin code is associated. Right, so same steps which I have done for this also. Only the thing is that endpoint is different. What are the endpoint is? Only that is different. And what is other differences? Here we have a JSON response. In previously we have a XML response. Here we are doing the deserializing of the JSON. Deserialize of the JSON. And previously it was a deserialize of XML. Similarly, let's see another use case, like for example, I have a Salesforce. Now we have a Salesforce. So far, whatever we have seen, this is a Salesforce. From and there is another third party which is called as a postal code. Postal code or a new trace or a SMS, currency converter. So many open sources are there. So what we are doing it from the Salesforce, I am sending a request to the third party system. I am sending a request to the third party system. How I am sending the request to the third party system using the HTTP. I am initializing the HTTP equal to new HTTP. And then I'm initializing here HTTP request equal to new HTTP request. Right, and in this, I'm setting the endpoint. Where should I reach? So request dot set endpoint. And whatever the endpoint is there, I'm providing that endpoint, and then request dot set method. And then finally, we are requesting the details. Then finally, what I'm doing it in order to send the request, I'm doing the p dot send the request. Send the request. Now we are sending the request to the third party system. From the third party system is get this information and it will calculate or it does some logic and then it will respond back to us. It will respond back to us. It will respond the details back to the Salesforce. So this is what it is happening right now. This is what either in the JSON format or a XML format. In the postal code and UTrace, in the postal code, Indian postal code, it is having the JSON response. UTrace is having the XML response. Similarly, we have a SMS currency converter is also there. Right, so then once we receive the data, we are going to deserialize the data and display the data either in the visual ports or a lightning or wherever you wanted to display the data, you can display it. Now, just a second. Okay, so similarly, we have one more use case. The use case is, for example, let's take a currency converter. So there is something called currency converter. If you go to the currency converter documentation, so what it does is currency converter is currency layer, right? This is the currency layer API. So if you see here, this is as per the exchange rate today, as per the exchange rate. If it is a US dollars are 80, which is equal to 1, which is equal to, if it is a US dollar is $1, right? US dollar is $1. Now you wanted to convert into the Indian rupees. US dollars, you wanted to convert into the Indian rupees. But that is based on the, as per the today's exchange rate. Every day it might change, right? Every day it might change either 1 rupee or some amount it gets changed. Now, as per the current date, I want the live result to be displayed. I want the live result to be displayed. That means if I say USD dollars, now let me go to the opportunity. Now we have an object called opportunity. We have an object called opportunities. In the opportunities, if you go to the any opportunity, we have an amount filled in the USD dollars. We have an amount filled in the USD dollars. Now, but this opportunity is suddenly shifted to the India. But they wanted to continue this opportunity, and that person want to know in Indian rupees as per the current today's exchange rate. What are the rate is there today? Based on that, what is the Indian total amount? So the person wanted to know the total amount in the Indian rupees based on the today's currency. What are the converted currency is there today's one. Now, if you look at in the Google, $1 $1 equal to INR, which is a 82.45 Indian rupees. 82.45. Yesterday it was 82.30 something. Right? So every day this changes. It is changes like before on the, this is on 20th May. It was a 82 point. This is different. Now here 1st June it is decreasing 82.28. 82.28. 1st June it is decreased to the 82.28. Like every day it changes. What are the exchange rate or whatever it is that currency converter, every day it is not the same. Every day it changes. Now, as per the current rate of that day, they wanted to, as per the current exchange rate, they wanted to get the Indian rupees on that day. Now, every day they cannot calculate. Every day the team cannot calculate what is today's amount, what is next day amount, what is the previous day, what is the next day, or what was the previous, right? And what is today date. Every day you need to calculate by looking at the exchange rate. Instead of doing that, what you can do is you can call this API. The API is currency layer. Currency layer is the API. See, it is every second it keep on changing. Every second it is keep on changing. Now you can do the same, you can do the integration with this currency layer. You can do the integration with currency layer. Now, in order to do the currency layer, you need to have a credentials. And this is the dashboard. If you go to the documentation, right, this is the documentation. Now, the developer has to go through this documentation. It is a very important, they have to go through this documentation. Now, it will give the API response. But before that, I need to know what is the end point. What is the end point? Now, let's say here API end point. Now, here they have given the live. If you want a live exchange rate, you can get this. If you want a historical rate, you can use this API endpoint. If you want to convert from the currency to any other, you can use this, right? And if you want a time frame request from the current date to the some date in between that, whatever the exchange rate is there, you wanted to get the exchange rate list from today to next 6 months. I wanted to get the exchange rate when it is going down and when it is going up. And similarly, change, if you wanted to change from the currency USD to the some INR or a Dubai currency or anything, if you want to change it, you can use the change. Now here it says a convert. Convert is converting from one currency to another currency. But this currency will not give me the live. I need a live currency exchange. Live currency exchange which I needed, right? So in that case, what you can go ahead, what you can do is you can get the get quick start guide. Here you have something called access key. Access key and the end point is, it says that. So this is the end point and it is saying that simply attach your unique access key to one of the endpoint as the query parameter. So this is the query parameter. It is in the white color, it is not displaying the data. Now this is the live. For that, I need to pass the question mark access key and then ampersand source. What is the source of it? And then I need to pass the currency. I need to pass the currency. Now this is, it is giving me the information. Now if you want, click on the URL above to get the most recent exchange rate. It is asking me to click on this URL so that you will get the most exchange rate. Now it is automatically taking the access key right? Now let me maximize this. So it is taking the access key and the currency is the USD. And what are the format is there? So it is giving me the terms USD. These are the as per the current exchange rate for now. Current exchange rate for now. Now same thing, I'll be doing it right now. Now I'll be implementing the Apex class to convert the. So what I'll be doing is in the opportunity we have a already amount is available, right? In the opportunity I have a already amount is available. Now whatever this amount is there, this amount I need to convert as per the daily basis. I need to convert as per the daily basis Indian rupees. I need to convert it. Indian rupees I need to convert. This is the daily basis activity. This is daily basis activity. So for that, what I need is, that means I need to create a batch class here. I need to create a batch class. But once I convert this data, where should I need to place this data? I do not have any field to store the Indian currency. So what I do is, let's go to the edit object. In the edit object, let me create a new field which is called as the Indian currency. Now I'll create a text field. Click on this next. Now let's say here INR value. INR value. Now length, I'll take it as maximum 20. Click on the next button. Or else I'll take 30. Click on next. And then click on the next button and let's place it on the opportunity layout. Now I have a value field is there where I can store the Indian rupees. Once it is converted, I can store that into the Indian rupees based on the exchange rate on that day. Now this has to be done every day. Every day this logic has to be executed. Now, if every day this logic has to be executed, that means every day I need to call the integration. Now, for this, I'll be implementing the batch class. I'll be implementing the batch class. In the batch class, from the batch class, I'll be calling this particular third party URL. Now, let's go to the developer console. Let's create the batch class, new Apex class. Let's say that this is the batch. Now this is currency converter underscore batch, currency converter batch class. Now for batch class, we need a, we are going to call the third party system. So here it should be a global. Global, this is a batch class. In the batch class, we have a three methods, which we have already discussed. And here it is a implements. Implements, I need to use the database dot batchable, database dot batchable, and here within this I'll say S object. Perfect. Now database dot batchable S object. Within this I need to have a three methods. One is a start, execute, and finish. For them also it has to be global database dot query database dot query locator, and let's say start. This is the start method. And also I need to have an execute method, global void execute. This is the execute method, and then finish method, global void finish, global void finish. Now Here I need a parameters. For the start method, parameters are database dot batchable context. It's very easy. Similarly, in the execute method also, I need a batchable context. BC, comma, I need to pass the list of the opportunities. List of the opportunities from the start method. I need to pass it to the execute method. Here I'll use O. And the finish method, one parameter, which is a batchable context. This is at the high level batch class. This is at the high level batch class. Now let me save this. Now, inside the start method, the first thing I need to implement a query. First thing I need to implement a query. Select ID, comma, I need a MO, comma, whatever the field is there. What was my field name? INR value. Let's get the API name of the new field. Fields and relationship. Now I have created the INR underscore value. Now INR underscore value from opportunity. From opportunity. Now let's say I'll give a condition where ID. Where, let's not give any condition there. Let me take all the opportunities. Right, this is done. Now once I have written this, once I build the string query, then I need to return database dot get query locator. Get query locator, I need to pass the query. I need to pass the query. Perfect, so the query is passed. Now the next one is the execute method. Next one is execute method. In the execute method, first I need to set the endpoint. First I need to set the endpoint string endpoint equal to, what is my endpoint? Endpoint is this live. Let me take that. It has to be in the single quotes. HTTP /API dot currencylayer.com /live. Then I need to pass the access key. I need to pass the access key. Now let me go here. This is the access key. Now let me get the access key here. This is my access key.
Swapna, can I hard code the access key in real time also?
Access key, you need to generate it. So here, whatever this site is there, they are itself is giving the access key, but they are giving based on your name. So similarly, client will also creating the some credentials there. For whatever the login access is there, based on the login access, there is the access key is generated.
No, that's okay. In real time, we are having some requests which are having some security parameters like username or password. So can I hard code that?
Right. So for that, if you want to hard code, it's not the right way to hard code it. What we will do is we will create a custom settings or a custom label. We will create it. From the custom settings, we are going to capture the details here. Okay, that we will see that how to do that. Whenever we are doing the REST API example, we will do that.
Okay, so thank you.
Okay, so right now I have an access key. What else I needed? Then I need a source. I need a source. Ampersand is the source. Okay, so it's all small letters. Let me take here ampersand, source equal to, now my source is the USD, which is right now is, I know that, and then I need to pass the currencies. Currency equal to INR format. Currency is equal to INR. Now this is the currencies and then format equal to 1. And format equal to 1. This is my endpoint. This is endpoint. Now let me add this endpoint in remote site settings. Click on new remote site. Now let's say here I'm adding the details of what we are checking currency. So this is currency layer. And click on the URL. Now we have added that into the remote site setting, all good. Now I need to initialize the protocol equal to new HTTP request. Now this is the request equal to new HTTP request. New HTTP request, then request dot, I need to pass the endpoint, set endpoint, which is an endpoint. And this is fine. Request dot set method. Method will be the get method. I need to get the details. Then once it is done, the dot send. I need to send the request, and whatever the data I'm getting back, the response, whatever I'm getting it back, then I'll be storing that into the HTTP response. Yes, or response equal to p dot send. Now, once this is done, whatever the result is there, I'll be storing that result into equal to response dot get body. Get body. Fine. So till this point it is clear. The response is which we are getting in the form of, what is the response form? In the JSON format. We are getting in the form of JSON. Now let's take it here. What I'll do is we need to create a parser here, system dot JSON parser. JSON parser equal to JP equal to JSON dot create parser. Create parser, and whatever the result is there, the result I'll pass it here. Now, I need to start looping through the JP dot next token. If it is not equal to null, what I can do that in the, whatever the output I'm going to get it. Whatever the output I'm going to get there. Documents, API endpoint, API response. Right. So here we have information wherever the USD INR is there. These all are USD to Dubai, USD AFN, all. I need a USD INR. Indian format I need it, and these are the API errors. Now what I need is, if jp dot get text. If the get text equal to USD INR, then get me the next token and store the amount. Now, in order to store the amount, I'll declare here decimal equal to amount. Now, decimal amount, and whatever the amount is, that amount equal to now jp dot get text. Get the amount. Now here it should be not a text, it is a decimal format. We have a amount in the format of decimal. So 80 dot some numbers will be there. So I need to get it in the format of decimal. Get take time decimal value. Now whatever I'm getting the decimal value, I need to convert that into again into the decimal. Decimal I need to convert it. I'm getting the value, decimal value, and storing that into the amount. Now the next step is we need to store that value. We need to store the value. Now here, in case if you want USD to be passed, right? So for example, here I have declared the hard coded. Now you wanted to dynamically pass it. Now in that case, what we can do is till here 1, and then from here 1 more plus you can pass the currency here. Right, you can pass the currency. So from the, let's say that from the custom label I wanted to get it. So directly you can pass the custom label dot currency. Like that we can pass the information here. Right, so whatever the currency is there, but from where I'm getting the currency here, I need to declare it. Currency equal to USD. What happened is USD currency, USD currency, right. Now like this you can pass the dynamically, whatever the variables are there, you can pass it. But now let's go ahead. Now I have the amount. Once I have the amount here, next thing is that whatever the opportunity is there, in the opportunity we have a amount field is there. For each opportunity, I need to check if amount is not equal to null, then convert that into the INR format. Convert that into the INR format. We have an INR value. INR value, convert into the INR value. Now, till this point it is done. Now, next thing is that I need to look through this opportunity. What are the opportunities? Is there per loop opportunity of equal scope? Now, within this, we need to check if OP dot amount not equal to null, then OP dot INR value underscore equal to Now let me add here rupees dot plus what are the amount is the decimal amount multiplied with OP dot amount. OP dot amount. Now I'm calculating the amount with the opportunity amount. Now finally, once we are done with this, just update the scope. Update scope. Perfect. Now, this is the batch class. But here in this batch class, what we are doing, we are calling the endpoint. We are calling the endpoint. But by looking at this batch class, what is happening? It is a simple batch class. Whenever we are calling the endpoint, we need to specify another interface here. We need to specify another interface. Otherwise, this batch class will not be executed. You have to specify here another interface which is called as a database dot allow. Database dot allows callout. You need to specify database dot allows callouts. If you specify, then only the callout is going to happen. Then only the callout is going to happen. Right, so now let's go ahead and execute this. Debug. Let's initialize this. B equal to new class name. And let's say B dot database dot execute. Database dot execute batch. And here I'll just pass the B. Now highlight this, click on execute. Execute the highlighted one. Hope there should not be any error. Okay, let me see what is happening, whether it is updated or not. Details, INR value, see here. It is converted into the INR value. So $20,000, which is equal to $20,000 is equal to some 16,48,910. 910. The zeros it is added because we added the text is it is taking the all the zeros, whatever the zeros are there, it is by default it is taking. So $20,000 is equal to 16,48,910. Right, so that is how it is converting the based on it. Now, if you go to the Google and if you say here 20,000, right, that's exactly 16,448, 16,48,910. Right, so that's exactly we got it. So instead of the sales team calculating it every day, now every day my batch gets executed and this data will be updated according to the exchange rate. Right, so this is another example. Now let me give you the homework. We have another website which is called as a text local. So basically you have to send a message to the mobile. You have to send message to the mobile. That means you need to call this API. This is a text local. If you search in the Google text local, so in the Google it will give you the information. The first one is a text local official website. So what is this is basically if you want to send a SMS to the any other system, any other mobile. Now, for example, this kind of a messages you are receiving it, right? Whenever you do the debits or credits, or if you are registered in the hotel or anything, whenever you are done with any actions or like you registered in some site, then immediately you receive a SMS, right? So if you want this kind of a SMS to be performed, right? This is the one of the open source where you can perform it. Create a login credentials. Create a login credentials. So just give a random information. What are the login credentials are there? Now here, once you are logged in, go to the help and all documentation. And here it says API documentation. Right, API documentation, send SMS. Send SMS. Now you need to send this API key, message, sender, number. This is the endpoint. Here is the endpoint. API.text local .in, send, exclamation, then you need to pass the API. And then whatever the number is there, that number you need to pass it. And then you have to pass the sender details. These all are dynamic information you need to pass it. Dynamic information you need to pass it.
Swapna, I'm having one question. They are doing some encoding, right?
Right. You need not to do this encoding. They are doing the encoding here because their data is different. Their data is different. Let me create a class. I'll just show you the how to create a class. Then you can do that. So here, developer class, let me go to the new Apex class. Let's say whenever the lead is created, I wanted to send the SMS. So lead SMS. Right, so here I'll create a method public static void send message. Now what is needed for this is in order to send the message, you need to know the ID or you need to know the leads information for which lead you have to send the information. So for that, basically you need to pass the list of IDs, which is called as a lead IDs. Lead IDs. Now, whenever the lead is created, immediately I wanted to call the method. This one I need to call it. So that means for this I need to send the lead information. Now, for example, I'll go here, I'll create a lead. Now, whenever I'm creating a lead, click on the lead. Now, do I have a mobile? Yes, we have a mobile. So as soon as click on the save button, and after insert, I wanted to send a SMS, right? So in that case, I need to create a trigger, file, new, Apex trigger. Let's say I'm creating on the lead SMS trigger. Lead SMS trigger, this object is on the lead. Click on submit. Right here, you need to call the whatever this lead SMS is there. So from the lead SMS dot, whatever the method is there, you need to call this method. And you need to pass. This is after insert, not the before insert. After insert, you need to pass all the lead IDs here. Right, in order to pass the lead IDs, how you will get the lead IDs? Trigger dot new map. From the new map, you will be able to get the details. So map of ID comma lead equal to trigger dot new map. Now from this, what you can do is what are the key set? Key set will contain all the keys. So you can get all the set of keys, set of ID, and keys equal to lm dot key set. Key set will have all the IDs. This keys you need to pass it. Now, once I pass the ID details, now next thing is that you need to perform the set endpoint. Before that, I need to capture the lead. All the leads I need to get it. So list of leads list equal to select ID comma mobile comma that's it mobile from let's take the first name also. First name from lead writes what are the leads where the ID is in colon, what are the lead IDs are there? I need to get the lead IDs. Need to get the lead IDs. Now I need to look through these leads for each lead. Leads list. For each lead, what I need to do, I need to declare the HTTP, new HTTP. And then HTTP request. HTTP request. The request equal to new HTTP request. Now this is perfect. Now before that I need to set an endpoint. Now when you are setting an endpoint here, when you are setting an endpoint string endpoint equal to, now what is that I need to give in the text local. Now this is the endpoint. Let me take it in this percent. No. Right, this is one. Now next thing is what I need to add it is endpoint equal to endpoint dot endpoint. Whatever the previous endpoint is there, that's the same endpoint I'm taking it. Concatenating with whatever the API key is there. I'm going to concatenate the API key. From where will I get the API key? API key, I'll get it from settings and the API keys. Create a new key. Now you need to create a key. Now you need to specify the IP address. From the login history, I can take the IP address. Copy. Paste it. Save the new key. Now there is a key is generated for this IP address. So I'll copy this. Now let me go to the developer console. API key equal to. This is my key. This is the key. Now click on this. Mobile is not there in the lead. We have a mobile, right? Let's go to the object manager, lead. Here's one relationship. It's a mobile phone. Okay, so first I have added the API key. Once I have added the API key, next I need to add. What is the next one which I need to add it? API key I have added. Next, let me add the number. Or else if you want, you can add the message also, but I'll add the message later. Number, I'll take it. Here, ampersand number equal to, let's say, Indian number I'm giving it plus whatever the EL dot mobile phone, whatever the phone number is entered there, I'll capture that. And next thing is endpoint plus we have a sender. I'll take a sender. Right, so this is the sender details. Sender is, if you don't know who is the sender, by default take this txt cl. By default take this txt cl. Now, this is done, and next one is the endpoint. Final one is a message. And take a message equal to message. Say here message. Welcome to Salesforce integration. Done. So this is how we will be building the endpoint. If you have multiple endpoint, instead of specifying in the single line, instead of specifying this in the single line, what we can do is you can divide that into the multiple and then you can close. What is the error? It is giving message equal to closing quote character on the string. I have mentioned the closing character. Is anything wrong in the third quote? Endpoint plus okay. Mobile phone is not existing. Mobile phone. Okay. So finally, I need to get the. Let me save this HTTP request. This request. Request dot set endpoint, which is an endpoint, and the request dot set methods, which is a get method. Right, so once it is done, then you need to send the details. Send the details and what are the response you are getting it. That means once you send it, the response will be automatically taken care. Why it is not saving it? Let me go to the Apex class. Need SMS.
Madam, I think their P is missing, madam, mobile phone.
Sorry.
Mobile phone spelling P is missing.
Okay. Taking time, let me do it from the Apex class. Perfect. So it's saved. Now, what are the responses there? You can do here the response, click on edit. That's finally, I wanted to get the HTTP response. Response equal to p dot send, whatever the request. The request I wanted to send. Now, this is how you need to do it. Now, this is calling from the trigger. This is calling from the trigger. Now, whenever you are calling from the trigger, the end point you are calling from the trigger, right? Is it gets executed if you call it from the trigger? Now, let me show you that. The trigger is calling this. Now, let me create the lead. New lead. Now, if you say, now I'm just giving some number here. And let's say here 19. Now click on save. Annual revenue. Click on save. Execution after insert system.callout exception. Callout from the trigger are currently not supported. Callout from triggers are currently not supported. Now, what we are doing here, we are doing from the trigger, I'm calling the method. I'm calling the lead SMS, I'm calling it. So whenever I call from the trigger, the class which I'm calling it, in this class, we are doing the call out. Whenever we are doing the call out from the trigger, ideally standard way, it is not possible. Now, if you want to do that, still, if you want the call out should be happen through the trigger itself. Through the trigger itself, I want the call out to be happen. In that case, what you need to do is you have to tell the system that execute in the future method. Execute in the future method and the call out equal to true. You need to specify call out equal to true. Do it in the Apex. Now here, click on quick save. I do save. Now you have to specify on the method level, which are the method you are calling it. That method you need to specify it, saying that this is called from the trigger, and in the trigger we are calling the call out. We are calling the call out. So whenever we are calling the call out, now I need to run that particular call out in the future method. In that case, what it does is it will, I'll click on save. Now it will execute this. Now it will execute it. Now person might receive some information, like whether it is sent or not. Now, how can I verify that? API messages. Reports. Let's go to the all reports. No, this is not the one. It should be API messages only, scheduled messages. Scheduled messages. Where can I see email to SMS, receiving text? It's not the one, your profile, email to SMS, reports, SMS single message. API messages. Let's click on this go 2023 last. Today it's today. Let's click on go. No, that is not the one. So here still I have a 10 text credits are there. So that means I should be having some information. Where can you see API message? Your profile, API keys. Okay, so I have already, this is the same number which is registered. This is the same number which is registered. And that's the same number I am sent to the email. Now if I go to the reports. Let's say if it is all reports. In the all reports. Short links, it's not a short links. Ideally, it should show here itself. It is not displaying here. Okay, so is there any error during sending this? Unauthorized, okay. Okay, so lead SMS, let me go here, file, open resource, lead SMS. Okay, so let me do this authorized, remove site settings. Remote site settings. Click on new remote site settings. This is postal. Not the postal, it is SMS. And this is the URL, click on your save. Okay, so debug. Here are the logs. Now let me create one more. I'll clone this. Same number. Let's click on your save. Let's go to the developer console. Now future method is executed. Click on go. Now let me see future method. So this is the endpoint. Let me copy the endpoint. Copy this. Now let me go here. Error, no recipient specified. Status is failure.
Madam, the N is missing in the URL.
Okay. What is missing in the URL?
The one which you copy pasted, na, their N was missing. In the address bar. Last. Integration.
Fine. So code is 4, no recipient specified. What is the recipient is specified? No, can you keep, okay. Anybody has a mobile number wherever it says that DND is, if you guys said DND is yes, means do not disturb. Like, do you have any mobile number where you can get the messages from the marketing or the different places you will receive the emails, right, or messages? Sometimes we say that to the Airtel or a Idea, do not send me these messages or do not send me the marketing messages. DND is yes, so that means do not disturb on those messages for that mobile. So do you have any? Give me the mobile number wherever it says that, which are the mobile number you can receive the any kind of a message. Do you guys have that kind of a mobile number?
Don't know, madam. I can share you, but if that will work or not, I don't know.
Okay, can you share me that?
Even
Yes,
I can
madam.
share.
Double 98535
Just
15.
ping me in the.
Yes, madam.
Just ping me in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so this is the number. Let's give 91. Still says failure. What is the wrong here?
Swapna, is this because of the encoding issue? Because whatever we are sending is encoded, right?
Mhm.
So it was trying to decode also, right? API side.
Yeah. So let me take another key. So this is another key. So, right. Numbers. C and D are numbers. If it is a small spelling mistake also, I cannot able to get it. It is a sender, SENDER message. And let me embed this. Okay. So this is the API key. And I need a equal to API key. And my API key is take this. This is the API key. Then finally, I need a message. Say hi. And I need a sender. Sender equal to text LCL. And then numbers. We take this. Okay, I'll see this. There is something with the API key. Okay, so probably we'll see tomorrow. Let me sort it out. What is wrong here? Okay, so we'll see tomorrow that one.
Yeah, okay, madam.
Okay, then, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, madam.
Yeah.